Hi, I'm Josh Lambert, a product manager here at Gitlab, and today I will talk about what we are planning to accomplish in the 13.9 release for our distribution team. 13.9 will be released on February 22nd of 2021. Here is our planning issue that we use to organize what we plan to do for the month, and we'll jump into a few of the higher items or more higher impact items that we're planning to accomplish. The first is we are continuing our work to support deploying GitLab on Openshift. This is important because we want to make sure that customers who prefer to run GitLab on Openshift and they're using Openshift for application deployment and generally standardizing that for their own infrastructure would prefer to run GitLab there. And so we have quite a few customers who are asking for this. Um, for those of you who've watched our past videos, we've been focusing on this for the past few months. And the great news is that we've gotten a lot of progress done in the last month in particular. Namely, we were able to reduce a lot of the risk by merging in the foundational tooling and getting the first two of our services enabled for the operator. We have chosen to leverage the Helm chart to allow us to leverage the learning and all the work that has gone into that and avoid having to rebuild all that logic in the operator generator. And so for us, we are actually using the Helm chart to generate the Kubernetes objects, and then the operator deploys them. Just to be clear, there's no Helm tiller or any other Helm services involved, other than simply creating the objects within the operator itself. But you can see here, we have a couple items here marked for 13.8. Those will carry over into 13.9, and we plan to largely address all of these this release. And so we hopefully should have a fully functional operator that has support for the full scope of GitLab services. From there, we're exploring more of the operational details of running GitLab in OpenShift. For example, being able to have SSH connectivity to your GitLab application. The OpenShift typically doesn't really rely upon ingresses, and they instead prefer routers. Routers don't today easily support binary port forwarding, so arbitrary TCP port forwarding, which is what we would need to have for SSH. The Nginx ingress controller does have this, which we use. And so we're trying to figure out what our options here are and what the best path forward here is. You can, of course, use a router with just plain HTTPS, but we would like to have SSH as an option to our customers. And so we are exploring this issue. We're also working on a few other areas. We are working on having some of the Helm chart resources and parameters being able to pass through. You can see that here. And we're also working to document some of the security models that we're working with for the operator as well. But overall, we made a lot of significant progress here, and we're hopeful we can get this launched in 13.9. But if not, we'll maybe have a couple last items in 13.10. But again, we're really targeting here at 13.9, and hopefully we'll be able to get that out. But if not, it'll be 13.10. So that's a big item that's going to consume a lot of our time here this release. But we're also finishing up, or working to try and finish up more of the Gitlab Pages support. Great news for a lot of folks. This was one of the last remaining functionality gaps present on the Kubernetes Helm chart versus our Omnibus service. And of course, Pages is quite popular. It allows you to do some really easy static site hosting services within GitLab. And so a lot of customers do want this. And so great news in 13.8, alongside a lot of great work from the Pages team, we're able to offer both the basic Pages chart, and so allowing that service within the GitLab deployed on Kubernetes, but also we added support for custom domains. Remaining is support for access control. We are looking at bringing that into 13.9 and potentially just for configuration and maybe not provisioning of the OAuth secrets. But we're hoping to have some version of this in 13.9 here coming soon. The remaining kind of key items here we're looking for are largely addressing some compatibility with other services that we find that customers are commonly using, or addressing some bugs or some other short kind of gaps, if you will. The first of these is that the GitLab shared secrets charts fails when using Istio. We don't deploy Istio by default. We don't configure GitLab to utilize it, but a number of our customers do prefer to use service meshes. And so we want to try and make sure that we can have them work together gracefully. And so we're looking to do this. And the main work here is making sure that we have annotation support for this particular chart. The rest of them already has support. And so it's also addressing sort of that gap in our Helm chart where we are not allowing annotations on this particular one. We're also looking to address some prolific logging, nothing too special there, just looking to hopefully be able to reduce some of the noise. And we're also working to address some negative behavior on the GitLab side, but we think it's due to some changes in how the Red Hat Podman service runs. So it turns out we have quite a lot of folks using Podman to run containers. And for those folks who are using it, in the last few releases, they started to see some problems. There's a documented workaround in this issue, but we hope to not have folks required to do that, and it should just work. And so we're looking at ways to work around this issue with PAM. Finally, the items I want to highlight here, the next one is we're also working to really to make sure that we have a GitLab service. We want to make sure that all of the images that the Helm chart utilizes are hosted on GitLab infrastructure. That's probably a better way to put it. The reason is because we've seen some uptime challenges with some of the variety of services that we use here at GitLab, whether it's Docker or Quay or GCR or other places. And so we wanted to make sure that we kind of owned our own destiny here on these images. We're largely just mirroring them, but this will allow us to be responsible for the uptime. And if some upstream services go down, we are not affected, and neither are our customers in being able to pull new services and deploy GitLab. Or, of course, the ongoing pod rebalancing, nodes coming and going, and things like that that could trigger some image pulls. So that's the goal here. And also, we've seen some requests for people who may not want to open up access on their own internal networks to these services, but they do feel comfortable opening up the GitLab registry. So that's also a nice way for us to help address that request and also provide some more stability for our customers, and also GitLab.com, who has also recently run into this challenge. So those are the highlights here for 13.9. We are working on a whole bunch of other items here. You can see in our deliverable board, it is ranked out by priority. So you can see we're also working on some Red Hat certification and some other aspects of our deployments. But those are some items that I wanted to call out in particular for this release. Thank you so much, and please do tune in next month for learning what we're going to work on in 13.10. Thanks, and see you then.